Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And also, Janet will be an active voting member tonight.
Yeah.
I don't,
Well, if there's two, sometimes I need to know.
that's fine. But we don't have for executive comments.
He did say he's coming.
Okay. You must have been here last night when the town board had cell phones going off. So make sure everybody's got their cell phone ringers off, please. Over to the pledge. Jax, want to leave us?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Janet, do you want us?
Okay.
Good news, it's always late.
You don't have to. I just said if you want to. you can. Okay, so the policy of the board is take public comments. If you're coming to comment about something that's on the agenda, I'd say wait till we get to that public hearing, but if you're commenting about something else that you'd like to talk about, please feel free. Once, twice, going, closed, okay, we're moving on. So we have Casey on the agenda, so I wasn't intending, but we've got everybody here, so I will make a motion to open the public hearing, the call on the chair. Do I have a second? Okay, all in favor?
Yes.
Before you, actually, Colin, did you get a response from Don Brewer about why he put the note on the map?
It came up in the course of the planning board process. Yeah, it's a while ago. I didn't remember exactly the specifics, but it felt like it was worth putting something on the map there, just to reflect some of the discussions. But,
All right, so I have spoken probably to at least 5 attorneys. One who clearly felt that this should be an item before the board. Everybody else, the title is out of, and I believe it's out of our jurisdiction. It's not a land use matter. It's a property owner's matter. I mean, if he goes to sell and there's not their title, that's on them. If he has, if the neighbor has a dispute, I didn't find anything in my, I'm going to say I didn't do a map research. I did do some quick, there was a 7-page letter from the title company. I don't know whether over the years you've resolved any of those issues, but I'm not here as an attorney. I'm here as a board member. So it's going to be.
What was the 7-page letter?
From Terry Carl about, why potentially there was some sort of a title issue. The problem is that we're not provided with that authority. We're not looking, somebody provides us, the board, I believe, with the deed. We're looking at whether or not the lots conform to the current zoning, so the question is what authority we have. Can we ask for things that are outside? Yes. I talked to 2 title companies as well, 2 other title companies.
I think you said before, not to interrupt you, but you said it's up to the board to make that decision.
Okay, it's not mine. I'm one vote on the board, but I'm just saying, I spoke to 2 different title companies who also questioned why, we as a board wouldn't be privy to, we couldn't call for a title search. We don't have any authority. The property owner, the buyer, everybody, and this is one of the issues with attorneys, you can have 5 attorneys in a room and 10 attorneys. Everybody that I spoke with was very highly respected. I spoke with a couple of the presenters at the Planning Federation meeting. All of them said title is not in your purview. So, except for one of them. who I also respect tremendously, but,
You did start to say if there's a neighbor issue.
the neighbor's issue is with the property, with the other property owner, it's, you know.
Public hearing.
Public hearing, so I make it, so I would, yeah, so next, right, I'm just making that statement to you because one of the questions I had asked was for Colin to come back with information about what it was and why Don Brewer put that note on the map, because otherwise, we as a board would not ever be at all privy to it. Okay? So I'm assuming, let's let the public speak and then present to us. And if you have information, please bring it forward, because you have to understand that although you may think that our job is to protect you, and it is, our job can only go so far.
Take the town too.
If you're gonna speak, please state your name and address. Thank you.
So, I mean, these are the applicants, so let's go there.
Right.
Neil could say, what's going on. So it's come to my attention, you know, I mentioned last time that this issue has been before the board before. This exact same, looks to me to be the exact same subdivision. Extremely similar, at least in my area. In this area. And there are, it's not just one, but I think there's something like 7 points on that map that are addressed that are issues to subdividing that this town board has signed off on. And I know there's turnover in town boards, but I know there's at least a couple members here that probably remember that. Since they're farm with. So in clear title, my understanding is something that is, if you're subdividing land, you need clear title, and most lawyers you speak to will tell you you have to have clear title to do that. That's the point. You're doing this to subdivide the land, to sell it, presumably to build on. You're talking about building lots here. Has there been, has an engineer looked at stormwater runoff for this or not? My understanding is that that's the part of the state. My land is downhill from all of this. So there's stormwater runoff, there's sewage.
Megan, can you pull up the maps? I was looking at. Sorry, I just, so looking at it.
Yeah, you might do better to, like, if you look at that other map, it'll show the other points too, if you. So if you look at the surveyor's map, those are noted on there.
Yeah. So that was
From 2019.
up from 2019.
If you don't have a copy, I'll give that.
No, I actually do not got it. You can keep talking while since I wasn't playing. It'll affect me just one second.
So it's all those issues. In addition, there's this 50-foot right of way. It's a dirt road. It's not rated for emergency vehicles. You're talking about adding these 2 houses down on Lighter Road, and that's gonna be an issue for emergency vehicles to get down. It's gonna be an issue also. It's a single lane dirt road. And so then my question becomes, what happens when you get 2 other houses back there or watering the road, I assume? So whose land is that gonna come out of? Is that gonna come out of my land on a road that's supposed to be just right away?
So. There.
So those points in addition to the 7 that are on the line. If you can't find them, have to pull them out for it.
No, I do have it. Like I said, I was expecting it from them, so.
Can you,
Yes.
So if you can enlarge that.
Yeah.
I believe the first item does address the title issue. And it's clearly a norm for town boards to require that. And the reason for all of these things, the reason for all of these norms is that if there's an issue, like stormwater runoff, land overlapping into someone else's property, the neighbor's property, that sort of thing. If those issues, if there are issues with these things, it devalues the other person's land. I'm also planning on developing the land that I have. And that could cause problems for me to the point where like, I may not want to build there. I mean, it's, and that's, there are issues that are pointed out here, and it's already been before the town, it's already been decided. And why are we back here again, asking the same questions?
because somebody can make an application. There's no thing that precludes another application. Can I, because you have several points that you're concerned about, is it also, have you by any chance submitted anything in writing to the board?
I wasn't asked to submit.
No,
anything, right?
I'm not saying you are,
I did drop off a foil some time ago. I haven't
And
heard anything from you guys.
I emailed it to you.
I've not received it.
also, let's confirm your email address.
Yep.
So just as an aside, if you have several concerns, it would be great if you can to them in writing, so that possibly some of them can be sure. But, I think we'll ask that. Is there anybody else who wants to talk to the application outside of the property owner?
And also, property in there.
Okay.
You wanted, it's the page first, but that's good.
And what is your name?
James Hanson.
Thank you.
272 Chestnut Hill Road, Woodstock.
Thank you.
That's the same lot, you own the same lot.
It's actually different lots. You'll find that it is the same lot that we own. There's an additional lot that I own that is above that. You can see that on the map, on the original map we were presenting last week.
He's one of the
Right.
co-owners.
Right, and he's very adjacent to him, not to Barney.
Well, it's a 500-foot radius or catty corner. We're right in your corner.
So it doesn't, I mean, where, but you're,
I'm one of the people who's notified.
right. No, and that's, and it's whether you're notified or not notified, you're welcome to make comments. So, but
My biggest concern is there's several wetlands on that property, and there's runoffs. So there's a water course that comes through that property, my property, and that water course runs relatively close to the well on that property. And so I'm concerned about the management of wetlands and water course and making sure that those standards are addressed.
on the map, do you have the wetlands general area designated?
My understanding is essentially two wetlands, one state, one federal.
They're on the map from 19 also.
Yeah, they're up here. The state wetlands.
Federal protected wetland.
And it's pretty deep of a lot.
Right, no, it's a large
The
lot.
other thing
Yeah.
is that if someone were to buy a lot, they would have, the DEC would have say, or the fence would have a say in it. That would be something that the purchaser would have to address in order to build.
Correct. We just have to make sure that there's sufficient land
To build.
to build and it's a large lot, so that's why I'm just asking, I don't know how substantial the, you just need to have sufficient land outside of the buffer.
Yeah, it's 26 acres. On this boat. And this wetland is small and towards the back. There we go.
You wanna get rid of the side and
Yeah.
blow it up?
That's the wetland there. And that's the parcel that's got 25.7 acres. And just as far as concerned, Ruckle Road goes, Ruckle Road's a town road.
Yeah. nothing on dry.
It's the town's responsibility.
This is
Private. Yeah, and the private road has a 50-foot right of way, correct?
Yes,
So there's
and
nothing.
it's owned in fee by that source.
Yeah, there's not, I mean, even if they didn't own it in fee, a 50-foot right of way,
That would be sufficient to use it against.
unless you.
I just want to point out that the title is really on here. It's Terry's opinion
Correct.
that an Article 15 should be done.
Can you state your name for the record?
Oh,
please?
I'm sorry, Susan Ponsley. The Article 15 should be pursued in order to clear up the color of title. It doesn't demand that the property owner do that. If he sells it like that, somebody, if they need to do that, will they?
Well, my opinion is,
It could be, right.
if the map is saying.
So color title can be clouded for any myriad of reasons. We don't know what it is and it's not.
And this subdivision was approved and done in 2019.
The other thing that I just want to get out there along the same lines of the title issue is regardless of the circumstances, the planning board approval doesn't give any weight to, it doesn't mean that planning boards just aren't involved in the title. So you're granting that you're not at risk for anything.
Let me go a little bit into that, because as a planning board, there is a tradition and a code to be consistent with what has gone on in the past and what goes on in the future. So put on the plat that there is a possible, it's not a clear title, okay?
No,
We
it's
as
that
the
one
board,
person's opinion is that there's.
but to protect the town and to protect future purchasers, we as a planning board can require that that comment still be on that plat.
Well,
Okay.
they did
Well,
want that
We're
back.
Yeah,
referencing that.
I'm just saying that
So then they're not objecting to it.
it's not about the title. It's about what a prior comment was
Right.
by a professional engineer, okay? And that is consistent with the planning board continuity.
Can I
Yeah.
add something? There is a direct reference on this new map to the file map number that was approved in 2019. Now, in terms of evidence, by citing that map, any note that's on the previous map becomes a part of this submission. I mean, we're referencing the map that has.
Right, on the title. And
So it's out there.
the title
And
company will-
the title company might definitely pull that out.
You referenced this map for last meeting here. You didn't reference the previous map. You didn't put that up. I had to go out and get the previous map.
I'm not here to represent the previous map. It's.
You're representing this current.
Yeah.
And you said as this map, you're.
There is a section, a
Okay,
note
so,
of the map that
okay,
says
so
about.
I apologize, but truthfully, although we opened.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
It shouldn't be cross dialogue, but between I have another question. I don't know if anybody else knows the answer other than you or three of you. Is there any other house that is currently accessed by this right of way?
Yeah, there's, my understanding is there's a house to the left, the Odo, like Odo's house.
So there's a house that accesses through this right of way that's off of Rifle Road, or there's a house that's off of Rifle Road?
They're up right there, that road. There's a house off of that, up Odo Drive. Splits off into Odo Drive from Michael.
I understand it.
Paul?
When you go down Dominic, I'll tell you exactly who's down.
Yeah, I'm just trying to understand whether or
Laura
not.
Marks has the residence used to belong to Mike Giordano, previously he was an applicant for this subdivision. Continuing down, there's a road to the right, which is called Lorenz Road. And Lorenz owns 38 acres, at third, he actually has a camper and a quasi-mobile home that he uses seasonally. The very end of the road is an abandoned quarry owned by George Dockmar, it's approximately 90 acres. He was under subdivision process for years. I don't think it was ever approved. He did his test holes. He had the lots all flagged and numbered. I don't know if that was approved. That was after my first tenure. So there are two dwellings that go down that road.
And they go down the,
At Auto Drive, you have this that goes to the home of Laura Marks. It's been there for many years.
well, just eyeballing, I mean, so this, is there anything else that's gonna access off of
Well, for Dominic,
the section of road that is going to be developed for this property?
well, this is
Well, here, use the
bisecting,
pointer that everybody can see. Use the pointer
oh, thank you.
that everybody can see.
I don't think I've ever used one of these.
Just hold what we have. Right, it's-
All right, so anyway, coming down here, this goes to Laura Marks's house, and that house has been there for generations.
And I apologize, but is that Rifle Road or is that?
This is Dominic.
Okay,
Okay.
Where's- right
Out
there.
here, the sign says Lorenz Drive, but it's not. This is Dominic Drive. Goes to the old Dominic Inn, which is abandoned and collapsing. Going down here, this goes to the right, okay, and that takes you to, that's just almost to be Teddy Lorenz's property begins about here. He does have a seasonal residence down there. The rest of this continues on, and this continues on to George Jacquemart's property.
So the only one that might use that road would be the person who took the lot, number one, the big long lot with the 26 acres. Because the two down below are gonna access through Rifle.
Yeah.
The two lots
So the two
below
new
Rifle
lots.
Road.
Right, no, I understand the two lots that you're developing.
These lot 2 and 3, they would access from Michael Road. So the only lot that involves Dominic Drive is lot 1, which is that big long, I think you gotta go further to see
This is
the one.
lot 1,
There you
right?
go.
Yeah. And it's also the lot that owns the fee title to Dominic Drive. So
Right.
it's effectively that lot has road frontage on Dove Hill Road.
So I'm just, so that we can understand how many houses are served off of the.
Good. Thank you for clarifying.
Are you welcome.
You can see the,
Neil, did I miss anything on there, or was I accurate?
yes, you were 100% spot on. And I just wanted to point out that the grade that I was talking about is before, like you can see it running, it's very early in that drive, and it's very early in that drive.
If you hold
Great,
it,
thank
so
you.
the button down and look at.
It's right about here, which is before the turn off. So yours very deep grade is right there.
And this is the.
And the house site right now, proposed is below the wetland area. Is that correct? So that's-
Not really.
Well, you have to show us that you can build a house and septic and reserve
Yeah, we're
outside of the wetland.
nowhere near the wetland.
That's all I'm just trying to be like clear.
So I have one question. I'm sorry, what's your answer?
Yeah.
Yeah. So is I'm trying to understand what your major objection is. Forget the deep thing.
Yes,
What is your major objection to the subdivision?
Well, I'm concerned that there's overlapping land where they think that, their land is part of my land. I'm concerned about stormwater runoff. I'm concerned about this road access. to some extent. Remember, we have a well that's very close to a lot of the seasonal runoff, and if you, there's a wet area. The stream that we have going through our property, it's seasonal and subject to rain, that sort of thing. And that's, early on, that's all back in here, this whole area. So that's all in here, this area gets wet. Right, yeah, all over here.
Do you think that's likely to change if they build two houses way down at those other two lots?
I'm sorry, where?
Would the two other lots,
Down here, you mean?
yeah,
Well, my property's up here.
Right,
I understand,
but he's got that, or,
but the proposed building lots are below there.
And over here.
So I'm trying to,
Right here.
right, the one house there also. Okay,
So that's your question.
yeah, I'm just trying to understand the objections. A lot of times it's just,
You're potentially building a house right there and expecting the spring to run off.
The storm runoff would be all addressed through the planning as we go through the code enforcement. They couldn't just start building without some plan to control that. Am I wrong?
No, that goes through now. You go through the planning stage. My suggestion would be to have Colin delineate the disturbance envelope. If it calculates to an acre or thereabouts, you have to have a stormwater pollution plan by statute. That's my suggestion as a board. Whatever you're comfortable moving forward, I don't question it. Now, that said, that said, let me just throw something in here because I know this land very well up here. I'll take the pointer back, Jan. There is an area here, which if this is the location of a proposed house, this does generate runoff. This comes up and it ponds here and it ponds here, not quite as bad. And I know this very well because my brother built right here. So I know the land very well.
so Paul, do you see in that front triangle, it's not really a triangle, but whatever that front section,
We're talking here?
do you see that the wet area is so impacting of the lot that
I think,
buildable?
yes, when it gets saturated, I don't know because this is private property, which I'm not familiar with, and I haven't gone on there since I went with Mike 20 years ago, Mike Giordano. But I know that even after a modest rain, it does run down here and it does run down here and it does pond here and here.
Okay. but
To the
that's
point
not-
where here, whereas if there was additional runoff and it wasn't properly controlled, Ted Lorenz would have difficulty getting back to his seasonal well. Now, this is not to criticize the subdivision. I just know that physically because I know this land.
But I'm saying in that front envelope, right, in the front portion of that lot.
Mhm.
Which you're,
I couldn't speak to the suitability of building. I just don't know it that well, that particular area.
And the runoff that you mentioned, goes through and then is my line.
It goes to the east, are you saying? Your land is to the east.
You know where my land is.
Well, I'm
Right,
looking at that up
So
there.
this is my land, okay?
Yes, I know
He's
that.
saying it's going
And this is
over.
the wet portion. that-
right, so it's not running towards your land,
It's
but
going
we're asking you it's running away from your land.
No, it's running through my land.
Well, in May, I'm not familiar.
It's like go over your land to get there and run off, but that's.
Okay, so, because Tom, I was assuming you were just saying it was.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with the runoff in that direction, only in the opposite direction. Because, they're basically roadways that I've been on.
Yeah, if you look at the top, you might be able to figure out. Probably goes directions. Sorry, I was walking.
As a 3 lot, how many lots exist right now prior to this application? How many lots?
It's one big lot. Lot 1, 2, 3, 4.
Sort of. So we're creating,
Right.
oh, that's right, so we're
Because the
creating,
town made us give them 50 feet to create Rifle Road
we're
in
still ready.
2019. So there's, Rifle Road is my opinion, a de facto subdivision of this property. I mean, I think this could have been presented as a 2-lot subdivision instead of a 3-lot subdivision because we don't own the fee title to Rifle Road anymore, the town does.
Paul, could you answer a question? So is it likely that the house there that's up there, the one you were just talking about with the runoff situation, with the stormwater management codes and everything, that would be required if they could build a house? Is it likely, or is it the intention that the stormwater runoff situation would actually be better after a house was built? Because it would be managed rather than the way it is now?
I don't want to say conclusively, but it's because I haven't seen how it's going to plot. I don't know the topographies of the land. There is a good perk in a lot of areas, rock outcroppings, shale. I mean, that's going down to an old quarry. So realistically, I think it's going to impact Dominic Drive, given that proposed location. And I think some mitigation should be considered if you're going to approve the subdivision with that being a prospective lot location. That's my suggestion.
So theoretically, you're not allowed to dump water, off on somebody else's property, so you would have to then create a retention pond.
And that's dealt with the building department when we're applying
Okay,
for.
okay, no, I'm just making that statement. You would have to just.
I have a question, because you're a little more familiar with that property. Where the house sits on lot 1, would it be feasible to move it up the lot and cut a driveway off the road and?
Realistically,
I'm not familiar.
I think the proposed driveway location is suitable.
Okay.
I think as you go farther,
You get closer.
road parallel to it, it's up.
Okay.
It's gnarly. I wouldn't go much
I
farther.
got
We're
back.
not giving you the building envelope. You're. And plus you'd have to cross the wetland, so you have to go down.
Just.
Does anybody have any issues with lots 1 and 2 at the bottom? Or 2 and 3, sorry, 2 and 3. Don't like it. I think working with our conferences is easier. I don't want to lose it, see. Okay, so we'll talk about that next week. So right now, I mean, bringing it back, is there any other comments in the audience? Or then we'll just bring it back to the board so that we can.
I don't still have curb cuts off for the other two lots.
Bring it back to the board.
I just want to remind everybody about that there are curb components of about 7.7 there. I'm predicting on that, but those.
Well,
It's on up on.
All right, so again, I would make a motion. I know that you guys want to move forward, but I'd make a motion that we close the public hearing to the call of the chair again, so that it's not fully closed unless you guys are ready to move forward. But I think we'd be.
I agree with that.
All right, so now let's bring it back to board. Lots 2 and 3, everybody appears to be not raising any concerns or issues.
So if we go, I don't know what you mean by going back to the board.
I mean, if there's a reason to reopen the public hearing, we'll reopen it. If there's no reason to reopen the public hearing, we will not.
Okay.
And then. we will
Because I have an issue with the 7 notes, if that's what they're talking about, was things that were listed on the paper.
I would recommend,
Right, they start
I
right
would
there.
recommend that if you don't mind, that you just send in a letter to us this week if you possibly can, so that we can fully delineate and knock off the questions, and then you respond based on what you've heard to comments that the public has made as the applicant, and send that in also. Do you have any objections to that? So we have something in writing from everybody? No, I'm just telling them that. Okay. As a board, I understand there's still some things that are outstanding. Do we want to ask for something based on some of the comments that have been made? Do we want to recommend some things to the applicant, i.e. show us some engineering for the ability to get a septic and.
We've got a letter from the general
Okay, that's right, sorry.
about that.
You want to go? I'll go.
And as far as the development of lot
Hold on,
1.
hold on. Yeah, hold on. Okay, so why don't, what, you went?
No, I went.
Okay. Are you okay if we go up for a ride? Can somebody can you meet us up there?
Sure.
Okay.
If you-
I'm happier during the week doing things than on the weekend. If
Oh,
that-
no, it'll be next week.
Yeah, no, okay.
Would the purpose of that be to look at the proposed house site? Because that's.
No, I in general don't.
Theoretical.
No,
which is
I
why-
I in general don't have to find, I mean, this is not that far from my house, but I don't like even, as everybody's talking about it, I'm having a difficult time grasping the four
Also-
different roads and the where and how and what.
I don't know if you guys would want me to, like, I can explain what a plan is with George and myself. So he wants, an easement, to use Dominic Drive for him. We both agreed we're gonna have, utilities put in. And also in favor, I was going to ask to use, if needed, his section. But I can put a driveway up through to this middle level, right through here. But I can also use, obviously, if him and I both agree on mutual easements, to use his road to access, which is a little better section up in here, is where I'm planning on building my house.
Okay, so then,
All of which, if I could just add a little something, is it reflects why we're not investing money in engineering for a theoretical house site right now. That is all to be addressed when we go through a building permit and you have a real site plan, like this is what we're gonna build. Right now, this is just, we've demonstrated that we can meet the setback requirements, essentially.
I say something. The house on lot one is proposed.
Mhm.
It seems like there's runoff coming from different directions. Am I right by saying that? You got two ponds and you're feeding it from two places. What?
No, it's actually because of the rock cropping that's here. Because of this, some water will feed.
oh, I thought that was a wetland,
No.
sorry.
No,
Yeah, this is just rock.
Right.
So some of the water goes this way, drains through along that bottom ridge. If there was heavy rains, the water would drain through along the bottom of these rocks here. Yeah, some would go there, right through mine, and then, also onto George's property as well.
That's the way it is present.
Yes,
So
that's
the
the way it
runoff
is
is
untouched.
running onto George's property, not onto Neil's, is what you're also saying.
Which way the flow is, I mean, I don't know that it goes, I agreed probably with him that it goes onto George's property, not to the east, not onto the Henderson's property. But I'm not, I don't know for sure. I'm not gonna say for 100%.
Whatever it's done it for years.
Right.
And the water's in it.
And you
And it's
haven't,
not.
I haven't seen it. It's never been, I have never been there when it's,
but you have an alternate spot that you're saying.
yeah, I probably will bypass. Yeah, it's 25 acres, so there's a lot of open space.
By building that house, it's not gonna make any difference on which way that water goes.
Correct. It would just be whatever the requirements are to manage that water from the buildings.
All right, so
I'll give you a call. Just
we'll wrap it up then.
So just a suggestion, the driveway, the proposed driveway location now is better than making the right-hand turn and going down. That's gonna involve not only more disturbance on lot one, but the improvement on the road once you make the right turn. The road's gonna need to be substantially improved. That's dirt, not gravel like the rest. Right where the spur goes to the left, it goes uphill, that whole knob's gonna have to get cut down, and it has to be widened for fire department access.
Right, you're talking about if he uses George's Road or whatever. the-
Well, it's Lorenz Road, actually,
So it's
yes.
outside of. the property.
I mean, if that's the best way that you guys feel feasible, or if he wants to build and access that way, I just personally wouldn't recommend it.
Oh,
It's
got
gonna
it.
involve a lot more
Then
disturbance.
you're gonna have to pull off.
Yeah, me and George, we're gonna get, after this is done, we're gonna get together and try to figure out what makes best
So
sense.
by code now, you have to have pull offs every
For both of
100 feet
us.
if you don't have the road wide enough for. So, maybe an expensive.
Well, George has approved it on his property. He put in sediment erosion control, he put down the base, he actually crushed stone up there. He did a really nice job. But it's farther down when, you know, past the bank.
Yeah.
All righty. So I made the motion again to recess it at the call of the chair. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We'll go out next week and get it ready.
Tracy, if you want to go up, just call me or you know.
Okay, we'll all go together.
Okay.
That's okay? Is that all right with you?
Let me know, right? Come down, we'll drive up
Okay, and
together.
then we'll try to- So, and if you can send us your information, that would be really appreciated.
Well, yeah,
So,
just
and then-
before, because I want the board, so I did, here is the foil that I sent, the response to the foil
Okay,
that I
that's-
sent, so I want to make sure I've got the right address.
Well, but that's fine, it doesn't have to pass
So,
now.
can
Send us or get your contact information to that.
Absolutely.
If you send me an email to planning@townofhurley.org, I'll know I have the correct one.
Copied on.
Yeah, no, sure.
No, this is a foil request, so.
Right, on this foil, but whatever comments that come into the public record, yes.
I don't have a problem with lot 2 and 3, but I have a real problem with lot 1. And my opinion, because if you Google or AI, the question, is it good to do a subdivision in front of the planning board with an unclear title? It'll say no. Okay, it says no, all right?
So
So,
that-
but I'm just, what I'm getting at is I am looking to have Don Brewer put back on this plat, same comment, but for zone, for the lot 1, because it's not fair to the town and to potential buyers that they are not warned that there's a possible issue.
Okay.
That's all.
You're phrasing it as if I'm fighting you.
No,
Right, that's all. They're not fighting it. They're not, so far, they haven't fought
That
it.
note is essentially part of this, by the reference to the 2019 subdivision.
Yeah, but I don't want to reference.
Yeah.
like,
If you want it,
It needs to be on this update.
This way it's ready for the planning board.
And the owner is saying that's what he's planning on doing, so it's his issue when if he's gonna go for a
Yeah,
loan, he's gonna have
absolutely.
to resolve it,
Absolutely.
whatever the issue is.
This is also in 2 different zones, so one of the zones is A4, I believe is lots. So in regard to visual assessment.
On the bottom, right?
Yeah.
So when we go out, we'll do a quick peek at that. Are you good with that, right?
Yeah.
And this was never.
And just go forward into the highway, I would suggest forwarding it to the fire department to make sure that there's no concerns. But that would also, Paul, not knowing your standard procedure, somebody comes in for a building permit with a new road, theoretically driveway, do you work with the? I mean, I know you work with your code, but do you have the fire department come up with you and make sure that?
Only if I don't think it's emergency service vehicles can access it, then I'll call the fire department. Mike doesn't really have jurisdiction.
Yeah, that's the road, right.
But I'll make sure they can make the turn and the base is okay. It's pretty routine stuff.
Okay.
So am I forwarding it to the fire department?
I would say at this point not because most of the other board members feel differently.
And the highway super,
No,
because I like the road.
they just is gonna approve the curb cut locations off of Rifle Road.
Right, so you got that.
Chase that. Well,
Your turn for that.
Yeah.
So the neighbors will be notified the next time we are gonna have the public hearing and a notice will be put.
Let's get their comments. We'll make a determination of whether it seems that there's enough new information to require another dialogue, or if we have enough information that the board is satisfied, and then we'll deal with just the,
Okay, so that the public understands.
and then we'll
We'll
let you know.
notify. That's, or we'll let you know. Okay, we just wanted them to understand that they will or will not get from.
So if you are interested in being notified, give Maggie your contact. She'll have yours. Jim, I don't know, I'm sorry, I don't know your name. Okay, so if you're interested in being notified, just please let me know.
Thank you.
Okay?
Is there anything else that you feel is missing in terms of hopefully bringing this to a conclusion?
So, right, so do you have your septic, I think that you're gonna have to show. And your contours are on that. So, and you've got your house and your septic, have you done any test pits up there?
Yes.
Yes.
So you're all right. You're getting, sorry. You what?
He also did round one as well.
Okay, so they were,
Yeah.
okay. Other than getting your that's. Thank you.
All right.
Okay, Cedar, I don't see any reason to have any discussion. It's currently before the court until we have a response for.
Thank you.
Okay.
Tonight go forward to this. We can set the date.
So move right along, let's get back here. So I would, based on my comments and plus anyone, I didn't get to the site visit, but if there's nothing, I think that from my conversations with Nadine and the comments that I've heard from the couple of board members, they did talk to, I think that we're ready to just approve the sketch plat at this point, and then they have to move forward with addressing Nadine's comments and we're good.
When you're talking, you want some kind of okay on a visual assessment.
Yeah, at this point, just as I mean, unless the board members felt that it was not needed to go, I mean, if the visual assessment is fine, you don't need anything.
Well, we could get that settled tonight, with a few other things for in.
Okay, so the,
Like a sheet of the colors they're gonna use on their house.
well, he said, yeah, so come on board.
And a roof, the roof material, the roof color,
Okay,
black, brown, dark gray, whatever.
so we can like, all agree on those, and the lighting's all downshifted, right?
Using all the metal,
But we,
or this black,
and the standing seam won't be silver, it'll be,
black standing seam, or this particular shade. It's black. These are the colors that, I can show you the pictures of the house we are currently doing right now. This is what we're doing right now. This will be all single blacks. This is a black metal. So a company called Mac Metal. Yep, shows all the, this gives you all the, you can see it visually, but it sees, here's looking like, here's a similar outline, this black metal, same thing. And these are, if you look, these are all previous houses that we've done, whether these, those, this is the typical house.
I need one.
What we do is what's in this, what's on it. I made 5 copies.
Oh.
I got this link.
The one copy Maggie can put.
Yeah.
yeah, so you look.
That's what the house is.
Yep, so this is.
Those are represented.
These are all these.
Okay.
They have the
So are
colors.
you trying to, the houses you're gonna do up there, you're gonna mix some of them will be the brown side, some gonna be the black.
It's gonna be all, not gonna be just one thing, but this is, this also is depicting is what we do, this on a regular basis, just so you see our style. These are all the colors that we're using, anything that's on here is cropped out. We never use. These are just the company that we deal with for our something.
Yeah, no, I think you're gonna get it.
This is all colors also as well. These spots that are used, these are the colors that we use.
So if everybody is comfortable, these are all muted and in relative tones, I would just say.
Yep.
And then you
see
your policy that you do everything is today's received date.
There's
and so
there
on
on each
file,
side.
the reference, then we're done.
Well, then there would be
Are you gonna have lighting up on
attached
the
to the
roadway
decision as
going in?
requirements for the visual assessment. But they have to follow some form of this.
Yeah, I don't think we, yeah, so
But that's up
we're
to you.
trying to redo the
But they're
general.
all percent. So the building department knows we're allowed.
Okay, so Tom, So we need two copies, one that's gonna go to the building department, so that so Maggie can just reference.
And then I'll.
And then a second copy of those to go to the Paul, so Maggie, we don't have to attach it to the decision.
Right, yeah. I'm assuming
I can actually-
I'll Maggie's gonna get
No,
it.
let's just email it. We don't even have to print it.
Okay,
I'll
great.
run it right through and I'll send it to you and.
And just planning and building, and then,
Okay,
but that he needs,
Yeah,
Yes.
Maggie.
right, you have that on your.
Yeah.
Well, I
And I'll
just,
scan
I
it.
printed all these myself today, so I don't really have this on. I went through, I can find
Oh,
a
okay.
copy of that.
okay, so take this,
Yes.
scan it to me what is appropriate.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, and then I'll send it to you.
Okay.
I got this one. And then drop that back off after you
Yes.
do the, I mean, it doesn't have to be
Yeah,
tomorrow,
yes,
but
yes.
once you get it all.
Yeah. I'll leave it for this.
Scan it,
Yep.
email it, and give me a copy. Hard copy.
We'll do your hard copy.
Scan it, come.
All right, so we're gonna,
Tonight,
yes.
I'd like to make that motion.
I'll second.
Well, let's,
For
let's,
the
well,
visual
let's
assessment.
approve the sketch first, how about, right? Because or is the visual here a separate application?
It's separate.
Okay, so let's vote on visual first. I'm not.
Yeah, good.
Yeah. All it, so make your motion to accept.
Accept the visual assessment is okay. the way it is.
I'll second.
With the colors in favor.
Right, so the colors and the presentation and the building styles that
It's a
were
nice, it's a
provided,
nice product.
there is no impact. And so no further action needs to be
You
taken.
really won't
right?
see that. You get up, the way you're cutting that driveway, you're not gonna, you might catch the glimpse of the first day.
Let's all,
Yeah.
all those in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Okay. I make a motion for the application that we accept sketch plat as provided. All those in favor? Aye. Okay. So now, Ed, you and Dean and
Yeah, you gotta go to
you
work.
did go to work and do all of the,
Did you
Now you got
write
some work to
something?
do.
Because I never got it.
she sent the comments that she made.
Yeah, I have this,
She sent them to you, I believe.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, it's all packed, all packed stuff, right? She sent an email.
Okay, we'll
Yeah,
get it.
no,
So I will, but I believe, I thought that she had, so.
no, she didn't copy. She just sent me the site list photos.
I have it in email, but I can give you what she said. If you like it.
No, I don't,
Oh.
we'll just get it, yeah.
Okay.
I do have the site visit photos.
Yeah, so now basically we just have to start working through it.
I had asked a question to Nadine, about, because I went to go get the information from the Board of Health. You know, they say, well, what they require is full large subdivisions, not what the town does.
Right.
And vice versa. So I'm trying to still sort that out if I can get a direct answer as to which application I need, so I don't have to throw them both out. Yeah, because it's either 5 lots, separate lots, or the one which they don't consider. Yeah, right, or all 5, because they don't consider this unless the lots are too small.
Yeah, so I think it's individual.
Okay. That's why I just don't want to do it more than once.
So you're going for individual lot approvals?
Well, that's what, I don't
Well,
know
it's
how
not-
to see this to get there.
The other one is realty subdivision,
Right.
so 5 or more. Well, you know better than I do.
Right, but I mean, this is not a small lot, so that you're probably gonna want to get an individual lot.
It would help you market it.
That's what I'm saying. That's the question I want to do is streamline it.
You're gonna want, because then
And you're all approved each lot.
each lot is individually approved, it's not, you know, it's not a,
Right.
and then if you, let's say, somebody, not that you're doing that, but if somebody wants to buy the lot, then they just take over the lot, you know.
Correct. That's what I'm trying to make sure that's.
Yes, I would do the
It's a
individual.
selling point and it's one shot deal. You get them all done once.
Yeah.
The 5 lots average altogether, 4.8 acres.
Yeah, and then for that application, it's like I think it's 1 acre or less, or something like that for that large real estate.
Yeah, so you don't want to do that.
This may be a Nadine's thing. Where did we land with a slip for this?
Yeah, they're gonna,
There's some back and forth.
based on how much, yeah, they're gonna end up with a SWIP because of the amount of area, but they're gonna have to show what the area disturbed is.
Correct.
Chances are you're gonna.
So the work between Nadine and,
But the SWIP can also be, just a retention, but that'll be a discussion with Nadine.
okay, so that's now,
Some places they want one retention basin to cover the whole subdivision. To me, it makes more sense to do individual ones for each lot.
Because everybody.
You're responsible for yours.
And you are,
That's fine.
that's fine.
Right. So, yeah, I would agree, because you're not gonna wanna have to deal with it down the road.
Somebody's gonna wind up with one big pond.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not, right now, we're not figuring out
It's just, yeah.
a town road.
But
It's
I
just,
don't have.
It's a common drive.
Section of field paint from my shelters.
Yeah,
I
that-
don't know what maintenance agreement.
Right, but that's
Those
not-
things are in Nadine's.
Right, but that's not something that's needed at sketch plan, those are.
Right.
No, I just.
Yeah, no, they're-
followed that thing.
Got it.
I have that list. So as far as, work between Ed and Nadine, that's open conversation, you call back and forth, or we have to.
Yeah, you know you're paying for it.
Yeah, I know, but I just wanted, I know, I understand that. I really, but the way it sounded the other day, like I should have asked first before I called her to ask.
Well, I
her
think she
about
doesn't want it, she wants to know
Yes.
that we approve that she's, yeah. she
it. I just
can
want to make sure we're
communicate.
doing it, not stepping out.
Well, now that we've given the sketch, I mean, I think now that you have sketch plans, approval, it'll be a little smoother.
It's
And then-
doing the individual lots.
So we'll check on-
Septics.
Chances are, I can't remember what we asked for in terms of escrow, but.
They, $5,000.
So, okay, you're fine. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
But I don't have any bills.
No, yeah, but I don't, I'm actually, it's $5,000.
Good luck.
thank you very much, everyone.
Now I gotta get busy.
Now you gotta go to work.
Okay, so
Yeah,
now
you got it.
we have three.
Didn't rectify.
I am. We have Freeman,
Absolutely.
Thanks.
which is the request for, you're just looking to modify the trees, correct? The variety,
I'm looking to eliminate.
eliminate the trees, okay.
I don't have any.
No, it was, he came in for a solar and you guys approved it, but you required, I think, 3 trees.
3 trees.
And so they're saying it's not really where the location is, the visibility, and so he's asking to waive the trees. He went to the ZBA and the ZBA is sending him back to us for amending and do the site plan.
Oh, it depends
So-
when the foliage is not,
Do you have pictures or?
You should have.
Yeah, we.
Yeah, so, yeah,
Well, here's the site plan that.
Yeah, that works. So pointer, here's a pointer.
It's gonna break it.
Well,
yeah.
come up a little
Yeah.
bit.
I'm trying to get over and up.
Okay, there's the array. There's Maverick Road. There's a neighbor up there. I've got a tree and a tree and a tree. That's north. So there's nothing between Maverick Road or the neighbor ever planted. And this tree and this tree, well, all of them are between the array and Windwood Lane. Windwood Lane is private. And I'm not really understanding why I need.
Does the trees block your sunlight?
No, south is this way.
Yeah, okay. Well, the trees were put there, asked to be put there because of the openings off of Maverick Road. You can
Right.
look at and see.
That's up here.
That's right.
So there's no,
Yeah, there's several openings there. You can see the cars going by.
yeah, here. But over here, this is all tree. Yeah, like 60-foot trees and
Yeah.
scrub. You can't even see Windward Lane. And plus, this is private.
okay, so
So
we're good, we're good with the pointer. It's killing our eyes.
I got,
Sorry.
I have the other ones on.
so these are to the east of the array, not between.
From the neighbors across the street.
Anything.
Yes. And Mitch reminded,
And the other part of it is if I plant a 10-foot tree in our yard, the road 10 feet above my yard. So the top of the tree would be even with the road.
They gotta grow.
You gotta go, yeah, you gotta go out the gag before they Yeah.
So is there, but, so Maggie was gonna pull up some pictures that were taken from the road, looking at where the array is, or where the array was proposed, because that's two different, I mean, we'll see two different things.
No, that's showing the open,
So,
where you see the road, right?
I'm sorry, so your initial application was for the solar array, correct?
Yeah.
And was that approved?
Yes.
And wasn't the plantings a condition of that
Yes,
approval?
That's right.
He's now asking us to. he's
So
now
did you,
asking-
have you since built the array?
Yes.
And now you're trying to back out of planting the screenings that you agreed to?
Well, what started it was time to plant the tree.
Mhm.
And I saw that it was blue spruce. And I went, wait a minute, blue spruce? First, it took 18 months to get the solar array thing approved. So by then, I was pretty much willing to give you my firstborn child.
And this is a.
All right, let,
Then I went to plant trees, blue spruce. And I thought, I don't really want blue spruce because they're not native and they'll just stick out like a sore thumb. I was thinking about changing. And then I got looking at the plan and I was wondering, why would I have to put a tree between the array and Windward Lane, which is a private road? And I started looking at all of them. And I was like, these don't screen anything. If they're there for screening, they're not screening anything. And all of those gaps on Maverick Road, there's nothing there. There's nothing ever
They were put
proposed.
there for Maverick Road.
No, he's saying they're put there for.
no, but on that, if you go back to the plan, it's clearly that the blue spruce are between Maverick Road and the array.
That's right.
No, two out of the three are on Maverick, one's on Linwood.
No, it's the blue, go back to the map. It's the blue spruce that you're talking about,
Yeah,
not the existing ones.
no, I'm not talking about anything existing. I'm talking about the proposed,
Right.
but they're not between the array and Maverick Road.
Getting there, Dennis, sorry, it's just.
Or, I have a comment here. I remember this gentleman when he came by, and I remember that it was an extended process.
Applicant submission.
No, it's actually in the board submission. It's the,
There was a lot of discussion, and I remember distinctly.
Approved site plan?
Yep. Keep going.
Okay, so there's a lot of discussion about the whole thing.
So, and can I see that? Can I see the pointer? Because I was talking, I'm sorry. Vic. So enlarge it a little bit there, Maggie. This is the array. This is the blue spruce you're talking about.
No,
Oh, okay.
See the little
that,
green
that,
dots?
and that, those are the trees that are
That's what he
supposed
said.
to be planted that I'm trying to not have to plant.
I see. Okay.
No,
Okay.
not one of them.
So let me just make a point. So if I remember distinctly, what I remember distinctly, there's a lot of discussion, and you're
Yeah,
correct.
a lot of
It took a long time. The board approved it, but there was a caveat, and the caveat included planting of trees. So I think it's prudent for us to, number one, pull out that resolution and look at what was agreed upon.
Well,
What did
this
we
is,
agree upon?
this
This
is,
is-
But
Yeah,
let's
it's right
look at
there.
actual verbiage, right?
right.
And I remember the type of tree was also discussed. It wasn't just pulled out of
Right.
nowhere. There was discussion about different types of trees, and there was discussion about what was the best possible choice. And we landed on blue spruce. Now, the other thing, I'll let you talk in a minute, yeah. The other thing I remember, there were neighbors who were across Maverick Road, and they also had input. And that was the one thing that they agreed to, and then the board approved it. So I'm not opposed to discussing it again, but I think before we do that, we need to pull up, and not just the graphic.
The resolution.
Let's look at the resolution itself, what we agreed to and what he agreed to, and then get the neighbors involved again, and then reopen it, but get all those pieces together before we discuss.
You should know that the neighbors have filed several complaints with the planning
That's
board
where I'm going.
since this.
I'm trying to get all the parties.
I sent them back.
Yeah.
to them.
Sorry, sir, your turn.
First, blue spruce was an off the cuff suggestion by the contractor that was gonna put in the array. he drew them on the plans and gave it to you.
Can I clarify? That's where are you opposed to the type of tree or are you opposed to putting any trees in there now?
I would like to eliminate the cause for trees. I think the screening to the east of that array, there's no logical reason to put any screening there. Between the array and the fire code, and it's completely screened.
I think the time for that was back when you were making your determination. You agreed to it at the time to get what you needed. Now you have to stick by that.
That's how you can come in and ask for an amendment, which he is, and then we have to go back through open up the
Jeff
hearing.
and I went there for the site visit. There was a couple of spots where you could see the cars going up and down Maverick Road. They could look right in and look at their road.
That's right, they're still there.
Okay, well, that's.
If I put those trees up, they'll still be there. Nothing's planned to go there.
Well, you had a year and a half to get them to grow over it first.
So
They wouldn't be, there would be nothing there. There's nothing there. There's nothing between the array and Maverick.
So
Road,
rather than-
the array and the neighbor.
rather than getting contentious, we all drive by there.
Diane, did you have?
Now,
Wait, no,
hold on.
no. Just hold on. You can drive by and look at that array all day long up and down Maverick Road. That's irrelevant now. If you make me plant the trees, you still drive up and down Maverick Road, you're still gonna see.
I understand that you're saying that your property drops 10 feet from Maverick Road.
Yeah.
Correct. I understand that. So all I'm saying is we can all drive by there. We can't do anything without theoretically accepting his application, scheduling a public hearing, looking at all of the prior, because even to amend it, unless you wanna just do it, just to amend it, we basically have to just do a hearing. Sorry.
No, Diane.
I have.
I was on the planning board at the time, and I did go out and visit, and, you know, it was very secluded. It was the neighbors across the street. And that raised the stink, and the only way we got them to agree to have the array was to put those trees in.
So,
But there's no trees between us and them.
Right, but that doesn't matter. But at the time, the only way to get those neighbors to agree to give me the approval was for you to have the, trees, whether they're gonna work or not. That wasn't the case.
Well, why don't you just, you're gonna deny it, so why don't you just do that now?
Do what?
nobody said that they were denying it. I'm just talking about process. The other thing is, I mean, I wasn't on the board, so I will say, just because neighbors object does not mean that the board will or should, defer to the neighbors. We're trying to be.
All right, well, there's the 3 words: arbitrary, capricious, and ineffective. Those are the
So that's why we
three
have to go and see what
I
you
would
got.
like you to keep in mind when you go over that.
So and I would agree, blue spruce probably don't make any sense.
In a public hearing, there's gonna be the same neighbors coming in, they're gonna say no.
But it might be that we should talk about.
They'll round up their friends like they did last time, and they'll come in and they'll say, no, I'd rather see a shipping container there. To one of the folks, but it'll go through.
But it may very well be that it's better alternate tree or
Right,
not.
so I was gonna say, I think often when they put blue spruce on your, approval or your site plan, whatever, it's blue spruce or similar,
Then it just says,
right? But I think that's inferred.
It is, it's very direct and it's to be maintained in perpetuity or until such time as the array no longer exists.
So, to Bert's point, the language sometimes is.
I'm gonna plant a 10-foot tree in front of a 60-foot tree between the array and Wynwood Lane to appease the neighbor that's north of the array.
We're not saying, we're knowing that you have been going through this process at a very, very lengthy, because when I was clerk and I was taking minutes for the ZBA, you weren't there.
And this,
So,
yes. Thousands of dollars.
So, I don't know how I will be honest, I don't know if the town board amended the fee schedule. I don't know if somebody's coming in and asking for an amendment to a special use or a site plan, whether it's a full application fee. I can't.
It doesn't.
So we'll have to check on that.
What did you say? You spent thousands?
Yeah.
On what?
This process. lawyers, planners, you guys, I gave you guys almost $2,000. I got a year that's been up, 8 megawatts of electricity. Doing 18 months. Then it took me to get the permit. I figured at least 8 megawatts of electricity. So at central fund pricing, figure out what that is. And then the contractor, of course, a contract's no good for a year and a half. So things change. So I got 2 years and $2,000, and I got to plant a tree east of the array with current neighbors to the north of the array. Doesn't make any sense to me. There's not going to be, it's completely ineffective, and there's nothing where you want it to be, where they want it to be.
So that's why we're gonna look to amend.
There's really not a avoid a public hearing.
I would, yeah,
I can tell you right now exactly what's going to happen and what's going to be said.
Public hearing is not mandated on site plan, only special use permit.
I thought this was a special use permit.
No, it's not.
No, so I,
It does, Maggie and I discussed this today. A utility scale would be special use permit.
okay, so I,
Residential, small array.
Yeah, and it's a 7 megawatt array. I mean, you can't get much smaller than that. You have somebody actually install it.
the visual,
That's special resolution. That's not- Certain people.
What are we doing
I said we need to review,
Yeah.
review the original.
then? Let's take a ride past the place.
yeah, so we don't need to schedule a public hearing then. Let's all take a peek and. But, I mean, you're just in a holding pattern. Like Paul, you're just not getting this.
Not technically. I sent one of my associates out to do the final inspection. Everything was noted relative to the permit. The inspector I sent out, I don't remember who it was, wasn't aware that there were conditions from the planning board treated as a routine installation, which it is in every other municipality. So he signed off on it. And then I got a complaint from the neighbor that the landscaping didn't go in, and hence I went back and pulled the approval, and I saw this. I spent an hour on site with Liston. And really, my thought was that there is, and again, there's 2 sections of the zoning that apply here. One says substantial screening, one says adequate screening. There's a conflict that they're not defined. Given the tree canopy there and the elevation of the neighbor who's even higher across the street, my thought was, and this is no preference to one owner or another, 10 to 12-foot spruces wouldn't even screen from mammoth growth. By the time these grew, and they're conical, so they're going to be thin at the top anyway, by the time they were effectively screened, even the neighbor, myself, listen, we're going to be a generation in the grave before they make a difference. At that point, the existing tree canopy will probably expand and do the same job.
Right.
I personally thought it was a little bit more than would have suited it, particularly the one, the tree over by the Wynwood Lane side, because on Wynwood, you don't even know that the array is there because it's lower. But I would encourage you to do a site visit, look at the tree canopy. He's right, there's 60-foot trees there. My notes even indicate that when I was there last year. So my office issued the CO in error. I am not going to revoke it. Or excuse me, certificate of compliance, but the whole issue now would be just that corner facing Maverick Road. And between the array and where, was it Sherman Road?
Yeah.
It was down where Sherman Road comes down. That little site angle is really the only area in question based on the planning board minutes, the approval and the map. So again, it's a tough situation. I would encourage you to visit, look at the tree canopy. It's, my thought was, wow, this thing's a tiny little array. It was 2 kilowatts smaller. It wouldn't have been economically feasible to put it in. And driving Maverick Road, you'd really have to, take your eyes off the road and look down and see it. Nobody does that. So I think, and this is speculation on my part, I had the impression that the neighbor it was a personality thing, not so much as the visual impact. That was my impression.
Their house is 30 feet higher than my house.
Right.
But look at that, take a ride out there, the canopy is significantly used as a canopy.
Yeah.
No, right now we're not doing it.
Now we're just- Come on,
Right, as everybody, we're not gonna make an application, let's all take a look, because right now.
Yep.
This piece.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you, Richmond. Thanks for powering my
plant some pretty flowers.
Free man exercising your right as a free American.
Right.
I brought back some flamingo willows from, Oregon. I'll share.
There we go.
They get these huge canopies, yeah, they are. Let's see if they survive.
So if we do accept that, we'll need a liaison.
No, I said it's just, no, yeah, it was just having.
We'll need the liaison.
We need a motion?
Accept it.
No. Not that.
And then I got a
That's
referral
not.
for the ordinance that you actually said put it on the May, agenda, but I don't have any applications or anything. I guess they met with Paul or something.
Yeah.
I responded to them, telling them what else I still need. The fee and everything.
Yeah.
Okay, we don't have, yeah, it's just, I will be honest, I've been a little overwhelmed the last couple of weeks, so I didn't look at the minutes. As far as I'm concerned, whatever.
Well, I looked at the minutes from January 21st, in fact, I sent you an email, so I mean, I would be more than happy to make a motion to accept January, February, and last month's minutes.
Right, I made comments on January, so.
And I changed them significantly since then.
I would second the motion, if we were to make a motion.
I'm making the motion.
I'd
All those
second
in
the motion
favor?
to accept in favor, we can't let them
No,
not.
no, yeah, that's-
It's gotta be in the record.
I wasn't objecting to that, I just was saying I didn't get my chance.
Everybody said yes?
Yes.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, we're gonna definitely keep streamlining.
So can I just make a general comment? I think, what the gentleman has laid it out. But I think as a board, we have to be, and I'm not a lawyer by any means, but we have to be very careful, not only what we do, but also how what we do is perceived.
Yes.
Very, very important. I believe these meetings are recorded, correct? Video and audio, please? Okay.
Correct.
So we're still on the record official, right?
Audio right there, yeah.
Very good.
Audio and
So
visual.
I think that when we deliberate, and we deliberate at length on a lot of these issues, and some of them take multiple appearances before us, and we have great minds here. We put a lot of thought into it, we put a lot of discussion into it. We have expert opinion from, Mr. Economist and others. We really think this through before we make a decision. So I think that, when Mr. Captain?
No, I'm just joking, I said you're running for board, so you can go.
This is not a political thing.
No, I mean, but you're very, no, but it's a good point that we should be looking at what you've done in the past and paying attention to how we interact.
Right, I'm not making a political thing.
No, I wasn't saying it
Strictly
was.
with regard to this.
It was a positive comment.
Oh, okay, I wasn't sure. So
No, no, it was a positive.
Okay, so the point I'm getting at is, I don't want it to be a perception in the community that you come to the board, you say yes to everything you want to get through, and then once you get through, then you come back later and then say, well, guess what?
Right.
I kind of didn't really like that. And again, I'm not in any way suggesting that that's what the gentleman is doing, but remember what I said about perception. So I'm just putting it out there that it's something for us to keep in mind, that we have to be very conscious of, that people don't get that idea, because neighbors are going to be neighbors, and we have to sort of navigate that. And it's a fact of life, So I just want to be careful that we don't be seen as a board where you say yes, you get through, and then you come back and then it gets changed. So that's what I have to say. Just my 2 cents.
And we have to be consistent.
Exactly.
Once
I agree
you're
with that.
not consistent, once you're not consistent, the next person can say, hey, you done it for Joe Schmo, how come I can't do it?
Exactly. So that's important.
Right, so I just wanted to put that.
No, I agree, but that's also why I said I think we should take a look, because now it's in,
Right, right.
whatever the visual impact in
Right,
when it's
right.
in is very different sometimes from what you think it's gonna be
Right.
when it's just on paper.
Right,
So let's look at it and see.
right.
I mean, I think his point about the blue spruce is 100% correct. That fits in a suburban
Right.
Long
So
Island.
then maybe what we need to think when we make recommendations on what it should have, maybe we should be more specific. So we, so it's not open interpretation, because then my interpretation can be different from yours, and then who's right?
Well, I
So
think
maybe we
the
need to look at the language.
The blue spruce was determined by the drawing he brought in, okay?
It was
From
not a
his,
solar company.
the
They're
solar
the
company.
ones that
So what
presented
the hell is he know?
And he was okay with it at the time. I remember that distinctly, that discussion.
Right.
Anyway, I don't want to delay that.
Well, so it's something- They put that in, he didn't pay for the solar. Company gave him no solar.
Oh,
He didn't pay for solar, right?
No, he got it under a senior something.
Okay, I didn't
And
know.
the solar company,
Yeah, I didn't.
the solar company recommended this to screen based on, they were at the public hearing, based on what they thought the screen from the neighborhood across the street. Saying we're exactly as it's.
Okay, that's all right. Okay, so next item.
I think we're gonna meet Mitchell. Giving out again his visual assessment.
Which everybody has a hard copy.
Yes.
And it is in color only, so that you can see vision changes.
He didn't mind that I just.
No. So I just need to have, because the simple, board members that I did receive input from was Dennis, Carl, myself, and, I think there was something that I took off of, history of, it was something else.
Oh, ZTF or something, when the
Yeah.
ZTF looked at it, okay.
So,
Debbie didn't comment?
No.
Wow.
Yeah, I have a copy to mail to her, so that
this,
she
this
can.
is something that is not.
She's got a lot of opinions. Yeah.
So what I was gonna say is like, we should, I mean, the purpose of next week's meeting is really to talk about like this, talk about, I'm gonna get some revised applications together, which goes to, can I get Word versions? Because everything you have in the system that I can find are all PDFs, so they're locked in. I don't wanna.
No, I have them in Word. I'll send them to you in Word. I mean, I do, everything that gets sent to applicants is
No, no,
as a
but what I-
fillable, right, as a fillable
I
PDF,
can't.
because,
But-
but I can send,
That would be great. I also just want you guys to know, I'm having as difficult a time, I think, as everybody else getting into the system and being able to figure out where things are and how to
I
find
can't even
anything.
set up the email.
Ray's got, no, Ray's got definite problems, because I tried to help him on
So
the
I
phone. the
mean,
other
I
day.
did say, like,
My computer hardware gets that thing and goes, bad spot.
right,
Right,
right, and I can't stand the continual having to do secondary, proposals every week or whatever. But I think we have to, as part of what we're trying to do is figure out a structure so everybody can get into the system and look at the applications if you want to before our meeting. I can't stand this. I mean, I have to tell you, I don't like this. Without having hard copies on the table of maps, it doesn't make any, I mean, I think it's good when you're looking at written verbiage and you can, because it's blown up enough. I don't know what the board members' opinion are, but to see the maps from here and not quite, it works, but only in conjunction with having some paper copies. So,
The county of
board
Ulster,
has-
Ulster County Planning, Department has, it costs like $100, and it's pointer that when we point to a map, it doesn't reflect because it's embedded into the TV program, and it actually circles the area that you are talking about. So that way, there's no glare, but there's a circle around it. Let's say, and you can adjust the circle.
Yeah.
Maybe you want to make it 100 yards around your targeted area. So that
and you
way,
sent it to me on.
yes, and you point to it and everybody goes, oh, and there's no like fluttering around and, laser pointing in your eye and stuff like that, the reflection. But that's not healthy.
No, the board did pass a resolution last year and it's filed that you want to go as much as possible digital and not waste paper and not have maps out there and not make the.
No,
applicant have to
everything is
spend-
all done and over with. And our
And-
old system didn't work. that way.
And there are exceptions. Carl and Janet get mailed a copy, and that's, everybody else has it digital because that's,
Okay,
so.
well, I mean, I'm not saying that we have to have copies of everything, but it is good to have.
And, sorry, it's 80 minutes. It's easier to be able to see. If you guys are talking about something on the table, it's hard to
This
know what you're
is a
talking about.
draft, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Because there's some wording that's gotta be.
Yeah, this is a draft.
So you can actually mark that up if you want. and
Don't
give
tell
it to
former
me.
chief of that.
Well, just saying that,
I'll find a red bed. No, I'm kidding.
I'm the belly button on this and I'd like to continue with it. Because it's going in the right direction.
Right.
But I sometimes I look at something and I don't understand, your person's thoughts. Okay, so if you have more thoughts, write them down, give them to me, and I will put them on the document, so that way we can all discuss it.
Well, did you send a copy of this to the email?
Yes,
Okay.
Yes.
the marked up copy, so it has all the corrections. I didn't have a color printer, so I printed yours out, Dennis, and it was all like gray. So I'm like looking at this, and I'm like,
Because I changed the colors or something. Yeah.
so I'm trying to, do it. So if there was something that I missed or didn't put in, you could just write it in and give it back to me. And, I think I got about, I'm gonna say 95% of what everybody submitted, put into there, into the changes. And, but I did not. I only sent it to the planning board.
Okay, so here, I'll give you mine because I've got it online.
You want me to send it to you in digits?
This one would be better.
Okay.
I'd like the electronic copies.
Okay.
I'll send it to you. I'll forward it to you. I have it.
Appreciate it.
So,
I got a question. How did legal was the case? Was that sketch plan approval tonight?
No,
Where are you at with it?
I think we told him that we didn't have any real concerns about lots 1 and 2, we need to get curb cut.
2 and 3.
Sorry, 2 and 3. And that lot 1, a couple of us are gonna go with you and take a little.
Yes, I think I would be the best tour guide. That said, the proposed driveway for lot 1, he actually cut it off of Dominic Drive in about 15 feet. He did that during the late winter, he did it already. So you can see where it's gonna be physically, there's a second.
I know that the applicant was asking before we left, are they going to call me at the date? There's not been a date set and he just wants to know. when the date
Yeah,
is.
no.
Could you do the,
Once we know.
next Wednesday, the 30th, Paul?
My calendar's jammed up, but Wednesday is the best day, yes.
But we have our
Wednesday?
meeting.
So we're meeting at 5.
We're meeting at 5.
So on Wednesday, the 30th?
Yeah, you wrote it in your calendar the other
Oh,
day
no,
when you were
that's
here.
not, well, I'm not looking, what we could do was go up around 3 o'clock.
Yeah, that's fine. Can you come down to town hall?
No, I mean at 3, and then we'll just.
Carl, can you go?
And I'll email him
I will take pictures for the, yeah,
and I'll email Marcella.
I will take pictures for the rest of the board.
I just follow one more thing with Mr. Lucchese, and I apologize, I was late and I missed the beginning of the discussion. But I remember the last time they were here, there was a question about the gentleman that was speaking.
Yeah, no, we asked,
Neil, yeah.
Something to do with the map itself, the survey.
yes, so we asked,
Was that addressed?
Well, there were a lot of things that were mentioned about that.
so we basically asked him to put it in writing.
Okay, I got you.
We asked him to put it in writing. We asked him.
Yeah.
And
Listen, Greg, I'm literally the best person to give you a tour.
Oh, no, I know, I'm kind of familiar, but
And you can, I mean,
I've been over there years.
and I looked at it,
I don't know.
I put
Okay.
more time than I wanted to put into it, and
I'll
clearly
put the top down, the Jeep will drive up
but it's
together.
not, if there's an argument about whether or not it's really in our purview.
I'm still working.
Oh,
I think
yeah.
they should raise, if the point was leave the note on the map, then it really is buyer beware, we're just making sure that whoever.
And,
Well, that's what you're referring to, then, right?
Yeah.
As long as that stays on the map, I don't know the discussion.
and the board
Which is
should
fine, I
know,
wasn't opposed to that, I just was saying for us to go and.
he came up to me after and showed me he did actually get my response to.
Okay.
Okay,
So I didn't ignore his foil.
This young gentleman here, Neil Cote, his dad, Jim Hanson,
So that is.
the dad. Neil's mom just died a couple weeks ago. They were under a lot of emotional strain.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they lost some.
Okay.
So I just want.
I know,
you to hear
Jim.
that. So,
Thank you.
yeah. You know the annex, right? Jim Hanson was married to Dorothy Annex. She just died on. April.
Hey,
I
that was
did,
his mom?
I
His
did
mom.
not.
That's his mom.
Dorothy Emmett.
Yeah, Gus is his uncle, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So I didn't know Bill Grenier told me that last week. I had talked to him. I didn't even realize he just started his mom.
Jim Hanson.
She was like right under me.
But I thought she was about your age, yeah, so.
Yeah, yeah, she get on. Right.
Yeah, I asked Jim how he's doing. He goes touch and go, man. He goes, it's hard. I said, what about now? It's the same way. That's why I kind of gave him a hug at the
Her
end.
sister lives up in Dark Hill Road.
She's still up there.
Carol.
Yeah, her son is Mark. Is that right?
Yes.
I'm not sure.
Yes, yes.
All right, so. But anyway, so I want to know.
10 on Wednesday,
10, I have 3.
or 3.
Three out of
Say, I'm gonna tell him 3.
Is everybody, I know I did.
meeting next Wednesday,
At
the
5.
30th, and it's like that workshop meeting.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if anybody's got things to bring up to talk about in terms of structure and operation and I mean, Paul, I know Pat's been working on some zoning changes. I've got some suggested form changes.
So
there's some fun-
just know that, I mean, when I started the subdivision, the planning board application, I shouldn't say subdivision application, was one application for everything. And it didn't even ask how many acres you had.
Yeah,
how many lots.
well, we're
So
gonna talk about that next week.
I'm just letting you know, if you want to look at them between now and then, what I tried to do is literally just take the requirements and put it in an application. And because people don't know what they need and telling them to go look at a section was not working.
Right, and everything's gonna go online when we're all
So,
done. Okay,
right.
Janet?
I just want to say one thing before.
Right.
Before the next meeting on the 30th of the next meeting. If you all could take a ride up Dug Hill Road at night and take a peek at Never Alone, I really think you need to see it because I don't think that is at all what we had agreed on.
So Never-
Like a lot of lights or something?
It looks like a penitentiary.
So it's been transferred, you do know, right?
That's huge.
Okay.
Yes, it's the lighting. It is.
The lighting's
They
not what
said
we
it will
agreed.
almost be invisible. You won't see it, maybe in the winter a little bit.
I heard that. I haven't been up there,
Come
but I.
up there.
Yeah,
It is- it
So
actually is
remember,
like,
the planning board never gave, no, they never gave approval because Paul wrote a letter that I'll resend it to everybody. Paul wrote a letter that he was in error in sending them to you guys, that it was just a by right accessory, and he took it back and it got built without any planning board conditions or approval.
that is
So-
right. When I went
so-
through the steps and then.
We got partway through it.
That's right.
Well, what we seen when we went there for a visit.
I just wanted everybody to remember that. That's
Yeah.
what's there.
But that still would be a violation
approved.
if we have that.
Okay, so we'll have to, like, so I would also even separate. Paul has to go out and take a peek because he would be the code enforcement officer. So we all could drive out, but we may just want
I
to
mean,
have
I
Paul
just
also
think
take
that
a
you get
take
to
a
see
run.
it. You won't get it until you see it. I mean, they have they actually have a sign lit up, which was never a thing, but it's like.
Even the
They lit
daytime
up
you drive by there, you can see that big blue gymnasium
Yeah.
through the trees, and that
But
was
it,
like
but
three.
at night, it's.
Okay, but let's just let's all take a peek, but let's talk to Paul.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Everybody, I make a motion to adjourn unless anybody's.
Second.
Wait, just ethics disclosures. I need that.
Why don't we just
Again?
bring in some.
For next Thursday, okay,
Bring them
Bring them
in.
on.
okay,
It's 8 pages, guys.
it's 9 pages. I didn't make it.
You won't have to fill out work.
Eight pages to read, you'll have to
Yes.
sign it once you get.
I don't.
Okay.
There's a whole lot of info. in it.
Oh, there's a lot of info, and every other towns have already
Anybody
doing it, we're
second
way
the
behind
motion
to
to
get
adjourn?
for years.
Did anybody second the motion to adjourn? All those, Dennis, all those in favor? All right. Carl, did you do okay?
We almost gotta tell them how much money you have to pay.
7:06.
Yeah, it's kind of close to.
Tracy,
that.
Tracy, I gotta ask you, what's your secret?
How about what being which?
Usually we have to play out. Don't complain now.
I'm earning some kudos, huh?
You haven't been up there, have you?
Wait,
Oh
wait.
my God.
It's in front of the board. Let the board-
That's right.
Yeah.
But doesn't mean it's okay.
They shot themselves in the foot.